ආයුබෝවන් සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් සියලු දෙනාටම. ඉතින් අද අපි මේ එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නේ HR ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එකෙන් HR ඇලුමිනා එකත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා හැම සැරයකටම වරක් සංවිධානය කරන අත්දැකීම් හුවමාරු කරගැනීමේ තවත් එක් වැඩසටහනක් සමගින්. මේ සඳහා අද අපිත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නවා අපේ මානව සම්පත් කළමනාකරණ අධ්‍යනාංශයේ ආදි විද්‍යාර්ථ අමන්ති මොවතා මහත්මිය. ඇය ගැන කියනවා නම් ඇය වර්තමානයේ සෙලන් බැංකු සමූහයේ ප්‍රධාන HR මැනේජර් විදිහට කටයුතු කරනවා. ඉතින් මේ අවස්ථාවට ඇයව ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් හා සාදරයෙන් මේ වැඩසටහනට පිළිගනු ලබනවා. මේ වැඩසටහන තුළින් අද අපි ඇයගේ අත්දැකීම් සමගම HR විෂය පැත්තේ මොන වගේ job opportunities ද මොන වගේ trends ද new career paths වගේ දේවල් අපි කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඉතින් මේ සඳහා අපේ තෙවන වසර හා සිව්වන වසර සහෝදරත්වයේ මහත් උද්‍යෝගයෙන් මේ වැඩසටහනට එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් තවත් කල් වේලා නොයවා මම කැමති අමන්ති මොවතා මහත්මියට ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව ආරාධනා කරන්න මෙතෙන් පටන් ඇගේ අත්දැකීම් අප සමග බෙදා ගන්නට.
Thank you, Hirani, introduction. Thank you very much. Professor Bhadra Madam, Dr. Dayaratna, and the lecturers who have joined in, and all the students, a very good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for inviting me to join all of you for this session. When my friend Dinoka called me, I was delighted to accept this invitation, simply because I will never forget the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, where I had my education in terms of the degree, which laid the foundation and gave me the strength to be what I am today. So thank you, Dino, for the invitation extended to me. And I'm so ever very grateful to Bhadra Madam, who was our first head of the department of HR, where you showed us and gave us all the guidance required in terms of making us HR professionals. And of course, we had Professor Opatha. Then, of course, we had Geeta Madam, Hemamali Madam. We had, I would say, a panel of lecturers who were so efficient, so knowledgeable, and with all that only we achieved all this what we are today. So thank you very much, and thank you all the young HR undergrads for giving me this opportunity. Take you through a few slides so that it will be easy for us to just understand is it, just give me a second. Are you all able to see the screen? No, not yet, no? Dinoka?
Madam, we can see.
Amanti. Sorry?
We can see the desktop actually.
Only the desktop. Okay, okay, just give me a second.
No, it's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Right. So I thought in terms of taking you on through the presentation, I wanted to just highlight a few things, talking about the educational background and the experience. Also, I would like to just take you through my career highlights and the experience that I've gained. A little bit on the competencies of a HR professional. Also, the role of HR in today's context and the future of HR. So I don't know, I think the format that I've told is, of course, you're free to interrupt me at any time if you want any clarifications on any of the slides that I'm discussing, or else you can also ask at the end of the session. I think we'll have a bit of an interactive session to ask any questions that you want to ask. So at that time, you can pose any questions that you have. Either way, I'm free and I'm comfortable. Right. So in terms of the educational background and the experience, see, in terms of HR, I think all of you need to understand that all of you are very fortunate, and we have no doubt that it is the cream of this country who gets into a local university. We see lots of people doing external degrees, maybe foreign degrees, but we need to understand, of course, some of them who are really good, maybe due to certain time constraints, all that might want to go overseas, might want to do foreign degrees, but the majority of the best people in this country get into local universities. Talking about University of Sri Javadhanapura, I'm sure the third year and the fourth year students, you are already, you have experience and you know how it is to be at this university. It is one of the best universities in the country. In terms of the management faculty, it is the best faculty. Javadhanapura has the best management faculty. And in terms of HR, the degree, the department, Japura has the best HR department. In terms of the country, Japura is the best HR department. So all of you have been fortunate enough to be selected to this degree program. And of course, I've realized and I've understood that this degree program has evolved over the years, where it has incorporated, of course, when I started off also, there was internship programs, external exposure, all that. And I must tell you, we were the first batch of this HR department to start this HR degree program. So it was very new to all of us, but I think that was a beautiful and a correct start. So no doubt in terms of your education, you have the solid right foundation right now. Well, whilst we concentrate on this education, it is equally important that we concentrate a little bit on the industry exposure. I'm sure in the third year or in the fourth year, all of you, there is a requirement that you need to do an internship in a private or government institution in an HR department so that you get sufficient exposure. What happens is we learn the theories, we of course learn with various lecturers in terms of the practices that are being practiced by many leading organizations. But once you get into an organization, even as an intern, you realize the environment, maybe little things like, okay, various cultures that we have, the various ways, the management styles, all that is being understood. Maybe not necessarily deep into HR practices, what we learned and all that, but you get that exposure. Being an intern in any organization, all of us need to ensure that we get and go behind people, understand what is going on in HR, what are the practices that are being done. Sometimes people, in organizations, they have busy schedules, they're busy with meetings, one after the other, maybe in terms of business, they're busy. So we need to take that extra effort to go to the respective managers to talk to them and get that experience, get that understanding in terms of what are the practices that are going on and all that. So also keep in mind when you go as an intern, it's not necessarily a fancy job, I would say. We too have interns coming into us. We have interns coming not only to HR, into various areas. Sometimes you get very mundane jobs to be done, maybe a little bit of typing, maybe, entering things, filing things, all that. But keep in mind, if you really want to do something fruitfully, you can always say, sometimes we give interns to prepare personal files. So this is an ideal opportunity for you to go through the personal file and understand what are the documents that are going into the personal file. What does the documents have? How does a letter of appointment look? How does a trainee agreement look? What are the confidentiality agreements that an employee would sign? So all those things will get into your system, which you usually study. So don't consider it might be just very simple jobs in your point of view, maybe even taking photocopies, but Do that, because I'm telling you with confidence that will definitely give you the background in terms of taking on a career in HR. Also, there are various trainings that are offered. Maybe whilst you're an undergrad, or maybe when you're working as an intern, there'll be training opportunities. Go for those and grab those opportunities without saying no. Then field visits that you do, ensure without missing any of these that you do these visits, because that will definitely give you that extra bit of knowledge for you to understand and develop your career. Because once you get into your career and when you go up the ladder, you will understand that sometimes you miss those little things that has happened, and you feel, oh, sorry, oh, in vain that I didn't join this field trip, in vain that I didn't take this internship up. Because don't leave room for repentance. Just do it whenever you have the opportunity. Do those internships, go for those trainings and those field visits. Also, just one piece of advice in terms of your education. Most of us believe once we have the degree, okay, we have the degree and that's about it, right? Don't stop with the degree. You've got to look at topping up the degree, the education that you have. You have to do a master's in HR, a general degree. You have to look at getting other qualifications, maybe related qualifications. Sometimes we feel, okay, HR, we are HR professionals, so we need not know anything else about the rest of the education. No, maybe something in finance, if you feel that a little bit. I'm not asking you to get specialized in those areas. Your specialty is HR, but get the experience and get the knowledge of other interested areas, maybe a little bit of marketing, finance, get that exposure as well. And when I enter into a job market, all of us know that whether we like it or not, something unfortunate is we see a lot of graduates who don't have proper jobs. The reasons I'm not going to explain right now. Maybe one of the reasons that I see is graduates feel, okay, I need to get a job, probably because I've studied 4 years, I need to get into a bit of a higher level job. I should not be getting into a low level job. Don't think it that way. Always, organizations do have management training programs which are ideal for graduates. So look at getting into a management training program. But I must tell you, being in the HR field, management training programs are very, very competitive. We have a large number of graduates. If you advertise for 10 vacancies, you have about 2,000 applications who are graduates who have other qualifications, not only one educational qualification, who have other extracurricular activities coming in. So we have people with a lot of experience. So it's a very rigorous process, and it's a very, I would say, very tight process and a difficult process in terms of these management training programs. But try for those, don't give up, do your best, try to get selected for a management training which is targeted at a graduate, failing which you take on whatever job that would come your way, so that will give you some exposure and that will give you the start for a career. Not necessarily maybe even in HR. Once you get into an organization, you can always look at moving on to HR department. So we've done it at Celon. I work for Celon. So we've even done in our bank where there are people studying HR in other departments. When they have shown interest, we have taken them, but they have joined another department, another area, but we have taken them in. So that's a little bit about what you need to have in terms of your education and in terms of experience. I was also told to talk a little bit about my career highlights and my experience. Well, as I mentioned previously, I was the first batch in the HR degree. I was one of the first members. We had 10 people, including Dinoka madam. So we were fortunate, but also we were guinea pigs because HR was not really well known at that time. If you ask me personally, when I did my A-levels, I never had any idea of getting into HR. I was born in my family circle. There were a lot of chartered accountants. So from my small age, I was wanting to become a chartered accountant. So looking at that, soon after my A-levels, I of course did commerce, and then soon after my A-levels, I started doing chartered accountancy. I completed up to professional part 1, then I got entrance to university. And the course that was offered to me was HR management. So it was a new area. This is, I'm talking about 22 years back. Don't count my age and guess my age. I'm just 25 years. So 22 years back, I actually passed out from the university. And at that time, HR was a new area. There weren't many people in HR. Most of the people who had HR departments were known as personnel management departments. So nevertheless, with all the advice that I've got, I thought this is a new area to venture. So I fortunately started the HR degree. And to date, I have no regrets about selecting HR. I'm so happy and so glad that I selected this HR course. After doing the degree, whilst doing the degree, I think in my 4th year, we were required to do an internship. So I joined HNB, where I had my internship. So as I mentioned, like all of you would face an internship program. We had to do many things at HNB, doing very clerical things, taking files up and down. But I ensured that I went to the managers and asked them questions. What is this process? How does transfers take place? How do you all do promotions? How does recruitment happen? And with all that, I got involved in all these areas just a little bit, not in terms of, doing sitting at interviews, not to that level, but I got that understanding in terms of how an HR department would work. And I understood in terms of a culture of an organization. So those experiences I got from my internship at HNB. Soon after my graduation in 99, I got entrance to, I joined Nations Trust Bank, which is my first job. I was there for 16 years. So I was fortunate enough, I got an opportunity at HR itself. I joined as a senior banking assistant there. And the first couple of days, I was given to open letters. The HR department comprised of myself, an executive, and then at that time, the CEO's secretary who was handling personal files. So a couple of days, without any hesitation, I continuously opened letters, filed them and put them into bundles depending on the subject and all that. And then gradually moved on to various HR aspects. I started off with resourcing, the recruitment part of it, because Nations Trust had a small team of people. We had to do everything, recruitment, then little by little moved on to the performance management area, the transfers, the promotions, a little bit on the training. And fortunately, being a small team, we had to do a lot of things, a lot of work. So I still remember we used to work till 12 o'clock in the night, come the following day, sharp at 8:30 for work. Likewise, continuously, sometimes for a week, 2 weeks, work till very late. I can't ever remember a date during my first 2 years of my career that I left office at 5 o'clock, never ever. So that gave me the opportunity to learn more and more things, starting from got involved in developing policies, because at that time there weren't, because the bank started up in 1999. So we were the pioneering team in terms of HR. So we had to do a lot of things in terms of doing policies, putting documents in place, all that we had to do, designing forms for various things, looking at a HR system, all that I got exposure. And then I climbed up the ladder at Nations Trust Bank up to the level of senior manager. I was there having exposure in all the areas of HR. Only regret that I have in terms of Nations Trust is that I never had the opportunity to work in a business to understand how really it feels to work and get that experience. So once you start getting specialized in HR, you don't really get the opportunity to experience a business. You don't know how the business people would deal, how they would feel, how they would get involved. So that's the only regret that I have today. I feel when I was just joining in, maybe it would have been nice if I had a couple of years of experience in the business so that I know exactly what the business people were talking about. Of course, now with all the exposure, I do have an understanding. But at that time, I felt that was the only thing that was missing in me. So thereafter completing my career successfully there, I moved to Ceylon. And right now, I have exposure in all the areas. I look at all the areas in HR. So I have a different exposure here apart from the normal things. There is an industrial relations unit, which is very active. There are a few things that we need to sort out. So I'm now at Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart. And so the bank started in 1988, having 31 years of experience. And our bank is, the motto of the bank is Bank with a Heart. You can see our logo with the heart on up as well as down. The vision of the bank is to be Sri Lanka's leading financial service provider as recognized by all our stakeholders. Right now we have 173 branches and 3,200 staff. Like many organizations, all organizations, we do have a set of values we live by, and we encourage our employees, all of them, to live by. The passion for excellence, courage to adapt to change, building lasting relationships, mutual respect and trust, high ethical and professional conduct, and continuous improvement. So I really enjoy working at Ceylon. It's a nice place to work with. And needless to say, working with people, working at HR department, it always gives you a lot of pleasure because you deal with people, you give solutions to people, and the feedback they give and the amount of involvement you have, it gives you a lot of pleasure. Let me just take you on through a few competencies of a HR professional based on my experience, my understanding. This is what I gather, and this is what all of you need to develop as undergraduates in terms of becoming a great HR professional. The first point that you need to keep in mind is, as an individual, as a HR professional, you need to have a very strong personality. When I say strong personality, there are many reasons as to why I say you need to have a strong personality. Whatever decision that we make, we get a lot of criticisms. Just take your family, your friends around you. Each and every one of you have different needs, different ways of thinking, different wants. And if you want to say something, there'll be somebody else who says, no, that is not the way. So imagine you become, that is your friends whom you really know well. Same with your family. So imagine becoming, as a HR professional, you are exposed to maybe 3,000-4,000 people who are not from the same family, who are coming from different families, different backgrounds, having different needs, wants, all that. So being in HR, we always deal a lot to do with these individuals, maybe personal things, maybe professional things, maybe deal with their careers, all that. So obviously, there is going to be a lot of criticism that come your way. Maybe later on you can explain, tell them all that, but it happens. And some people may like HR, some people don't like HR. And at the same time, you have to take decisions which are not really making some of them happy about. You have to discipline people. You have to maybe push people to do certain things. So to do all this, HR professionals need to be very strong, have that strong personality. That is one of the key things that I see in HR professional. And also keep in mind, you have to be transparent in whatever that you do. You have to treat people. You take one decision in one instance, the same instance comes up again. You have to look at the environment and take a similar decision. You have to be fair by employees and be transparent. So being transparent won't be that difficult as long as you're fair and you take a justifiable, calculated decision. So ensure that you build yourself to become a strong person. And also in terms of decision making, keep in mind that when you take decisions, sometimes those decisions are not easy decisions to make. Maybe due to certain issues, you might decide to terminate an individual. The individual, when you decide maybe due to a fraud, you terminate an individual, that individual might have various difficulties, only breadwinner of that family. So there are so many, emotional things that you encounter when you're in HR. So unless otherwise you have a strong personality, these type of decisions which are required in the interest of the organization, in the interest of the rest of the employees, you find it difficult to take. You have to use your heart as well as the mind in terms of taking decisions. So that's why I emphasize this fact on this strong personality. Obviously, I'm sure you're aware in terms of empathy. You need to get into another person's shoe. You need to understand another person's feeling. That is a must to have a competency or a quality of an HR professional. You have to talk to them, ask them, get sensitive to what somebody has to say. Maybe you might feel, oh, that is just nothing in my opinion. But nevertheless, for the individual who is talking to you, that is a big thing. So you have to ensure that you understand and you give a piece of advice genuinely to that individual concern. So you need to build this competence in terms of empathy. Also, as HR professionals, is important that we become business savvy. HR can't function in isolation. You have to understand what your institution is all about. What are the businesses that we have in my institution? What is it that we are driving in terms of this institution? So you need to know in and out, look at what is happening globally, happening with regards to, in relation to the business that I'm in. So you have to get yourself updated and have that knowledge in terms of the business in the industry that you're in. That is a must for a HR professional. Also, an HR professional has to be a good communicator. So it does not mean, I'm not only referring to English alone, maybe even in Sinhalese. So you should be able to communicate in both languages and be a good communicator. At the same time, keep in mind, in most of the organizations, the mode of the official communication happens in English. So develop this skill in terms of English communication. If you feel, obviously we are not real Suddhas to talk like, a British or American, but at least to understand and to communicate clearly, you have to ensure that you develop this skill in terms of communication. And also, you need to manage relationships. It's all about managing people, managing relationships. You need to have that touch with them. You need to constantly, maybe your internal customers, your customers are all the staff that you have around you, the staff that you're working for in that organization. In my case, the 3,200 staff that I have, maybe the business heads that I'm dealing with, maybe the branch managers that I deal with. So you need to ensure that you maintain a good rapport and a good relationship with these stakeholders. At the same time, you need to be flexible and adaptable. See, the only constant that we have is change. Change, everything is changing in a very, very rapid manner. You take today what we are in. See, we never expected this COVID situation to come in and take us through all these changes. Unless otherwise you have the ability, unless otherwise you're flexible to change to situations, to tend to environmental changes, organizational changes, individual changes. Unless you have that flexibility, you will not be able to be a good HR professional. You should be able to adapt to situations when things go wrong, when the environment is giving challenges, posing challenges on you, when the management is posing challenges on you, when the business is posing challenges on you. You have to analyze those and quickly adapt to cater to those situations. Also, an HR professional needs to have the problem solving skill. හැමදාම දවස ගානේ ප්‍රශ්න තමයි එන්නේ. කාගේ හරි එක්කෙනෙක්ගේ ස්ටාෆ් මෙම්බර් කෙනෙක් වැඩට එන්නේ නැහැ. කියලා නැහැ එයා එන්නේ නැති කාරණේ මොකද්ද කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් performance වලට මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට drive කරනවා වැඩ මොනවත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. උදේ ඉඳන් හවස වෙනකම් ෆෝන් එකේ ඉන්නවා කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම නැත්නම් business එකක් කියනවා business එකේ මේ business එක drive වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හොඳ solution එකක් දෙන්න අපිට මේ මිනිස්සුන්ව drive කරන්න. So it's always dealing with problems. So unless otherwise you are a good problem solver, you cannot survive in this HR profession. Also, you need to be a caring person. You need to have a lot of patience. You need to talk to people because these are human beings that all of us are dealing with. මිනිස්සු කියන්නේ හදවතක් තියෙන දුක සතුට දැනෙන කට්ටිය. මේස පුටු වගේ නෙමෙයි. You all know, I'm sure all of you have that base understanding. So when you go to an organization, when you start working in an organization, you have to look at caring aspect. You have to care for them. කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් ඉන්න පුළුවන් අම්මට සනීප නැහැ ගෙදර. අද boss වැඩට එන්න බෑ. අද තමයි තියෙන ලොකුම presentation එක. I'm not talking about these troublemakers. Sometimes you have people eternally having these issues. I'm not talking about those. But genuinely person has a problem. You need to care for them. හරි පුතා වා නිවාඩුවක් ගන්න එනවා. වාද ගෙදරින් අම්මගේ වැඩේ important නේ. මම වෙනින් එක්කෙනෙක් එක්කලා මේ presentation එක මේක handle කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ then the following day that person comes in. Talk to that person and ask how is your mother? What happened? So you have to build that in. You can't overnight නිකන් කවුරු හරි ආවයි කියලා අමතක වෙනවා සමහරක් වෙලාවට අහන්න කොහොමද කියලා. You have to ensure that you build that caring. You become a caring person. You build that caring personality. And you need to have a lot of patience, I'm telling you. ඉවසීම කියන එක මුදුනටම තියෙන්න ඕන. Otherwise, you can't survive in this HR field. You can't survive as a HR professional. You have to listen to people. You need to have patience, talk to them. සමහරක් වෙලාවට කියන කතා අහුවාම හිතනවා අනේ මොනවද මේ කියන්නේ මොන පිස්සු කතාවක්ද මේ කියන්නේ ඔයිට වඩා කොච්චර මට බරපතල දේවල් තියෙනවද එහෙම නෙමෙයි patiently කවුරු හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් අරගෙන ආවත් කවුරු හරි මොකක් හරි සාකච්ඡාවකට ආවත් patiently ආගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන. I think in terms of a HR professional, මේවා තමයි key aspects, key qualities මං හිතන්නේ අපි HR professionals ලා හැටියට build කරගන්න ඕන. මේක මම ගොඩක්ම ගත්තේ in terms of my personal life and also in terms of what I see. And also keep in mind one day all of you become HR professionals and you need to ensure the team HR also develops these qualities, these competencies in them, and the HR department head, HR manager has to ensure that you inculcate these and start living these qualities and the competencies. Well, in terms of the role of HR, I'm sure this COVID-19 has taught us many things in life. Things change overnight and in a very unexpected manner at a level that we would have never even imagined, right? So we never thought that all of us will have to wear masks all the time, go out wearing masks. All of us want to show our face, we will have makeup, all that, but I don't know to what extent now these are useful. So things have changed so drastically. These are few, I have just listed down 6 key points that I feel that are changing and that we need to, as HR professionals someday, when we go forward, these are the things that we have to change as HR professionals, and this is the role of HR. HR role එක කියන්නේ හැමදාමත් මේ HR එකේ personal file maintain කරගෙන එහෙම නැත්නම් HRIS එකක් maintain කරන leave records maintain කරගෙන ඉන්න HR වලට විතරක් සීමා වෙච්ච job එකක් නෙමෙයි. අපි ඊට වඩා we have to go beyond that. The role of HR is not merely that all that is given, all that is administration, all that is fine, those have to exist, those have to happen, otherwise HR department can't survive, no two words about it. But the role of HR is not merely these things. There is a lot more, and there are a lot of things beyond this. Number one point is you have to become a business partner. Becoming a business partner meaning in any organization that you're in, there are businesses that each of the business heads or the managers of other departments are involved in. So you have to hold hands with them and assist them in terms of driving their objectives. You have to ensure that your HR system, the HR practices, the rewards mechanisms that we have help them to achieve their targets. So you have to become a business partner. You need to understand what the business they are into, what is the support that they need in terms of driving their business, and maybe if there are any recommendations that we can make, maybe in terms of the performance appraisal, maybe bringing that in as a KPI, key performance indicator to their balance scorecard. So you have to get involved and understand and become a business partner. Also, not only in those individuals becoming business partners, we also have to be a strategic partner. Meaning, it's not only about the individual businesses that we are talking about, we also have to see at top level how strategically we can get involved in terms of setting up the strategy of the organization that you're in. You have to ensure that you have and contribute to the strategy of the organization. Otherwise, you don't understand what the organization is driving. You will have your HR pillar running in terms of the way that you want to drive HR, but the strategies, the organization will be driven somewhere else, and we will not support them, and people will start pointing fingers at you saying, no, you are not supporting us. What are you doing? You are not giving us the correct direction. The organization is falling down, because everything, whatever the strategies, have to be driven by people. So the people aspect is in our hands. So unless otherwise we encourage them to drive that strategy, we do that, we wouldn't know what is going to happen to our organization. So it's very, very important that we become a strategic partner from the time the development of the strategy for that organization. And also you need to understand the business challenges. මොනවද the businesses වලට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න? මොනවද ඒගොල්ලන්ට එන challenges? ඒගොල්ලන්ට අපි ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ challenges අඳුරගත්තේ නැත්නම් අපිට ඒගොල්ලන්ට solution එකක් දෙන්න අපිට ඒගොල්ලන්ට කතා කරන්න විදියක් නැහැ. Business එක තමන්ගේ challenges අඳුර ගන්නවා වගේම HR එකත් අඳුර ගන්න ඕන business එකේ challenges. Constantly department heads ලත් එක්ක කතා කරලා business heads ලත් එක්ක කතා කරලා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ challenges අඳුරගෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ට people මිනිස්සු සම්බන්ධව තියෙන challenges තියෙනවනේ ඒ වලට අපි solutions දෙන්න ඕන. ඉතින් අපි ඒකට හැමතිස්සෙම businesses වලට එන challenges මොනවද, environment එකකින් එන challenges මොනවද, සමහරක් විට අපේ businesses ඒ challenges දකින්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි දැක්කොත් ඒවා පොඩි communication එකක් කරන්න ඕන. තියෙන regulations වල මොනවා හරි challenges දැක්කොත් ඒ වල communication කරන්න ඕන. ඒ විදිහට අපි අපේ knowledge එක business එකේ challenges ගැන වැඩි කරගන්න ඕන. Apart from that, we have to support all the business initiatives. As HR, we need to ensure whatever business says, certain at times we take decisions. Say, for example, at Ceylon Bank, if you take, during the crisis period, during this COVID-19 pandemic situation, we wanted to start a campaign to increase our CASA base, that is our current accounts and savings account. So then the business came up with a proposition in terms of a Heroes of the Heart campaign, a campaign that encourage all employees of the bank to bring in current accounts and savings account. So we had to play a major role in this initiative. We came up with a recognition program. We came up with a rewarding program so that people are driven, the staff members are driven for this business initiative. So likewise, in any organizations from time, this is just an example that I shared with you. Likewise, time to time, in all organizations, you get these type of initiatives that are being done. Maybe to enhance business, maybe to overcome a certain issue that an organization has. So in these circumstances, you need to ensure that you get involved and you support these business initiatives. Apart from this, you also have to ensure at times when the environments are changing, when we are looking at different ways of doing things, when the organization initiatives are changing, that we align our HR policies and procedures to support those business initiatives. Sometimes, maybe I'm not saying that you got to every time a business initiative, a new initiative is being introduced, that you need to change the HR policy or the HR procedure. I'm not saying that. But constantly, if we feel certain policies, procedures, the guidelines that we have are hindering a business initiative, then you need to take that lead role and change the policy or the procedure to suit the business initiatives. But you need to ensure that you don't compromise on this HR part of the policy as well. So you need to strike a balance. You need to look at the HR policies, do whatever the changes, but not to the extent that will hamper the majority or the organization, not to that extent, but you've got to look at changing. Also, continuously, all HR practitioners, all HR professionals have to ensure that you get an understanding of the best practices that are there in the environment, in the industry, and explore those, understand those, and start incorporating those to your organization. So this is an ever evolving thing, I would say. There are lots of changes that are brought in by various organizations locally, overseas. So you need to ensure that you bring in that best practices to whichever organization that you're in. So these are the few things that I see in terms of the role of HR. This is beyond the basic things that you got to do in terms of HR, which I'm sure you study in your study courses, the processes that an organization HR has, the training, the development, the recruitment, the resourcing, HR operations, HRIS, appraisals, all that. Those are things that are bases that are given. But apart from that, you need to ensure that these things play a role in your profession when you become a professional, because otherwise you will not be able to become a great HR professional. Moving on to the future of HR. Of course, there are a lot of changes that have taken place in the arena of HR as well, simply because of this pandemic situation. But what I've understood is the changes that are being looked at, most of it is positive and is not going to go away even if the pandemic situation is arrested. Because people have realized by moving on to this various practices, various changes, even in HR that have taken place, still the organizations could survive, and there is a benefit to the employee as well as to the organization. So one thing that we need to keep in mind is, if you take as of now, there are lots of changes that are taking place, some of it mainly due to the pandemic situation, but they have changed for good, and it's not going to just vanish after the pandemic is over. Those will last. So working from home, WFH. So working from home is a new concept that has come in, and alternate work arrangements. People work from different locations. People work from different branches. People work from home. These concepts have evolved, and many of the organizations, including Ceylon, we have got used to these practices. We work on work rosters. There are people working from different work locations. There are people working from home, logging in, including accessing our systems. All that is being done. So these are new working procedures, working mechanisms that have come in, and policies, procedures have been written to suit these working patterns. Also, there is a great emphasis on employee well-being. It's not only the physical health and safety aspect of individual, we also look at the mental and the physical well-being of the individual. Say, for example, we do have people, maybe due to isolation, maybe due to various quarantine processes that have got impacted, affected. So how do you physically ensure that people are looked after? How do you ensure that people, when they come to the bank, when they come to an organization, what is the support that you give in terms of the well-being of an individual, physically and mentally? Say, for example, if you take the recent developments because of this COVID pandemic, say, I'm just taking examples, my own examples, say Ceylon Bank. So banking was made an essential service even during the pandemic situation where the entire country was closed. There was curfew being imposed, quarantine curfew being imposed, but nevertheless, bankers had come to office. So the shops were closed, the supermarkets were closed by the time they went home. All the lorries that brought all the stuff have gone home. They had no way of, buying things, buying rations. So then we organized various suppliers, service providers to come and sell their goods here. We organize a mechanism where they don't interact with each other, their distancing is maintained, all that, and that was organized. Any organization gives masks to staff, sanitization takes place. They ensure that periodically employees are updated, educated on all the safety and health guidelines and the mechanisms. In terms of certain staff going through stress, then what is it that we do? We do counseling to them, we give them that feedback, understand them, talk to them, guide them in terms of what they need to do in terms of getting over the stress situation, because people are stuck at home, they can't do anything, no enjoyment at times. So then how do you reward them? How do you recognize them? How do you ensure that they are engaged? All that has to play a major role. And that is, I feel, a bigger role in terms of HR, and HR has to now get involved in employee well-being. Of course, I did touch upon previously also in terms of the flexibility in HR policies. So you have to have flexible HR policies, and when HR policies, procedures are stated and put down, it does not mean that it has to be static forever. You need to ensure with the changing environment, if there is a requirement to review the HR policy, take that opportunity and review those policies and make those policies flexible. Then in terms of the HR analytics and dashboards, see, we at HR, whenever we are engaged in various activities, unlike earlier days, HR information has become critical and key. Be it, I'm just taking this pandemic since it's still on, I'm just taking that as an example. Maybe you might, at a glance tonight, the government announces, the army announces that these are the areas that have been isolated. We need to understand what are the branches in those areas. We need to understand who are the people who are living in those areas. Some people are living in isolated areas, but their branches are open. So how do we ensure that we have enough people in terms of managing branches? Maybe in terms of rewards. how do we understand in terms of what is the market is paying, what is the market median, how much we want to pay, how do we align the salaries, how do we benchmark against the competitors. So all these things we need to understand, maybe the turnover rate of the bank, maybe in terms of the turnover, you need to understand there are 150 people leaving the bank, of which we see 50 people from credit department, credit area. Then in credit area, in terms of the service, how long have they been in the bank and left? So there are a lot of analysis, there is a lot of analytics, there is a lot of information that is required. So the future of HR is definitely, you need to have these analytics. HR analytics is going to play a big role, and also these HR dashboards where commonly used information, where frequently used information is readily available at any given time, which is updated from the database. You have a dashboard with giving key HR indicators. Maybe at any given time, you can get the turnover ratio. Maybe at any given time, you can get maybe the gender. At any given time, area-wise, you can understand how many staff members are there. Likewise, dashboards giving us key HR indicators. So this is going to be the expectation going forward. This is going to be a key aspect. Also, as I mentioned, I think I touched this point in terms of driving business in front. HR has to understand and drive business. We need to be ahead. We need to understand what the business requirements are and then support them in terms of driving their business. Also, in terms of learning and development, everything has been now on virtual modes. In our bank, we have the e-learning, we have online learning, we conduct all the training sessions online to staff members and all on virtual modes. Maybe right now we are looking at probably 90% virtual mode simply because of the given circumstances. But going forward, at least 60 to good 70% will definitely be on virtual platforms. And the rest, of course, will be a couple of face-to-face sessions, because otherwise everything you can't be doing on platforms, on online learning and e-learning, because it's not that, maybe if you do 100%, certain things might not be effective. So there'll be a small percentage face-to-face classroom type training and development programs happening, but the majority will move to virtual platforms. Employee well-being, I think I've touched on this. It has got repeated here, I'm sorry. So employee well-being is the other aspect that I want to talk to you on. So in terms of the presentation, that's about it. I didn't hear anybody talking in terms of any questions that you have. So I'm open to take on any questions. Hello.
Amanti, Bhadramashi here. I hope you hear me. Can you hear me?
Sorry, sorry.
My voice is not clear.
Now it's clear, madam.
All right. Yes.
How are you? Yes.
I'm good. Thank you. So it is so wonderful to see you presenting to our students and from the first batch. So great pillars of our department from the first batch. I'm so glad.
My pleasure, madam.
Amanti, I
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
Like you said, one regret you have is that you did not acquire the business knowledge at the early stages.
Yes.
I would like to ask you what kind of advice you can give to our students to overcome that kind of a problem. Like, up to second year, as you all
Yes.
did, general management subjects are focused. And
Right. Okay.
then specializing all HR. So sometimes I don't know this problem whether occurs to the same level or the lesser. I don't know. But what you can give our students as an advice to overcome such a problem?
Yeah. No, why I mentioned that is, see, when you become as you become specialized in HR, and as you go up the ladder, uh, you cannot turn back and go back to a business to understand the business point of part of it. So
Okay.
at early stages, when you start a career, maybe you're uh, put into a different area or maybe even to HR. At a junior level, you always have the opportunity to go to another area, maybe through a cross-functional training. Go to another area and get trained, get an understanding of that business. See, what happens is otherwise, as you go up the ladder, so from a HR point of view, from a from the lowest, I told you I started off opening letters. So from
Yeah.
opening letters to all the clerical work, everything I know in and out because I have hands-on experience. When somebody talks about a situation, I do understand because I've gone through that. So when it comes to business, if you are a HR specialist, but you don't have that experience in business, I do understand maybe not at higher levels, you could have that business exposure, but at least at a junior level through a cross-functional training, or even if you get an opportunity, not necessarily in HR at the start, maybe in another area, because sometimes all of us, the mistake that we make is we just want to get somehow into HR. That's what we want to do, right? So, but if you really want to get that exposure, take that challenge. If you want to become, maybe you might get a job in marketing. You start there and get that understanding and then move on to the HR field. I'm not asking when you have the hope, when you have your basic degree, when you want to study HR, when you want to become HR professional. I'm not saying that you need to be in another area. You got to be in HR, but you can start off in another area where you can get some exposure. And at the same time, for if you're fortunate enough to get into HR, look at getting some sort of cross-functional exposure in another business area, so that maybe say for example, if you look at banking, if you go to a branch for 1 month and learn what is happening in that branch, I'm telling you, madam, you have a lot of experience. You can gather a lot in terms of a bank.
Okay.
So likewise, look at getting, I really don't know how a teller feels, how a teller would do work, how the branch manager, how the branch staff work. That I see them doing it, but I have not experienced it.
Right.
So I feel it's important that at least we are looking at cross-functional training. Of course, now in organizations, it's a costly affair simply because putting somebody in another department, that department has to take time in terms of teaching that individual, all that.
Yeah.
But ways, if you can, if you have the opportunity, look at that opportunity.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I do. Thank you. I understand now well what you say.
Right, madam.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions that you have, students? I hope I was clear and you were able to understand and grasp something, take something back home. Anything on the presentation? Can I move out from the presentation? Anything that you'd like to know, ask? Dinoka has told not to ask any questions. Very quiet batch, Dinoka.
May I answer another question? May I ask another question then?
Yes, of course, madam.
Amanti, what is the future of our students with this kind of a situation in the country? Job opportunities.
Madam, job opportunities will not decrease at the rate that we would expect.
Okay.
Of course, see, there is in terms of job, there are certain organizations that have not been able to survive. But in my opinion, this is a temporary thing that has come up. Maybe I'm assuming it might be maximum another 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. And once the vaccine is done and all that, I think we will be able to get over. However, there is a lot of opportunity. It not necessarily be need for those undergraduates to come to a workplace. Maybe there's be a lot of opportunities in terms of consultancy work, in terms of work that you have to do from home. Maybe some people would want to work from home, but I don't see a drastic decline in opportunities in the future.
I see.
There are, I know some businesses have challenges in and closing down, but there are certain other businesses which are really flourishing. Even the telecom sector is really for Zoom, you talk about it, the internet, all that online learning platforms, everybody is moving. So there's ample opportunity there. So likewise, new ventures, new businesses are coming in. So definitely there'll be opportunity for all of them.
Right. Okay. That's wonderful. Yeah. In terms of syllabus revision and new areas to put into the students, do you think anything we should specifically focus on? Like you talk about the well-being, of course, we teach them counseling and counseling skills and so on to concentrate on the, how to even talk to the employees and so on. So those aspects are covered, but like when I'm looking at the all that empathy, well-being, those things are really good. But I think yes, we may have to work on the good communication and building up the strong personalities. And then, as you mentioned, they have to be remind always of the flexibility and adaptability.
Correct.
Aspects, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in terms of a HR professional going forward, technology is going to make a huge difference, huge change in terms of the way we work, the way we look at things, all that. So in terms of HR analytics, the dashboards, all that is also becoming aggressively important in the HR area. So I think those type of things, I'm sure you already have, madam. HR analytics and
yes, we have
yeah, so more focus on those, and of course in terms of employee well-being and all that also will have to be now looked at in the new context. And also this I don't know how it will be. See, the law of this country at times becomes a barrier to all of us in terms of introducing certain things, maybe part-time workers. In terms of course, the IT systems that we have maybe might be a challenge in terms of 100% or maybe a bigger percentage working from home. So those challenges might be there, but those are the things that future is going to look like. You're not going to have a permanent seat. It will be a seat that everybody comes and makes use of during a given time.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. Very useful to know though everything from the point of view of practitioners. Yes.
And always now we sit at interviews. I don't know. I've done many I don't know, I don't have a count. So I think what we expect from a person who comes into an organization, especially in terms of HR, is obviously you get a very, very sound knowledge when you do your degree, when you qualify and you become a degree holder. So you have to, apart from that background, you have to constantly keep yourself updated in terms of what is happening in the field of HR, what is going on, what are the new things that are being used. So you have to constantly keep on updating yourself. You know, by press of a button, you have so much of reading material. So ensure that you get that exposure before you maybe you go to for an interview, get that exposure so that it will make you stronger in front of a panel, and you will know what to talk, and you will know all the HR jargons, the latest ones that have come in after leaving university. So that's actually a big thing that you can do in terms of updating your knowledge.
Okay, yeah. We do a lot of things. Like
Yes.
we have contemporary HR, so we give them even HR analytics. I've been teaching them 4 years ago from onwards, like, at least as a topic, I touch that area, digital HR analytics. So to them to have an understanding about at least some understanding about the importance of it, not the intricacy of it, but of course our new syllabus development, I saw their subject on
Right.
HR analytics.
That's great.
So, yeah, there are things moving ahead. Yeah.
Madam, even after leaving the university, I mean, you have to say everything is getting obsolete, maybe at a rapid pace.
Yes.
So even after leaving university, you got to constantly keep on updating yourself. Isn't it, madam?
That is a must, yes, of course. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Amanti.
Thank you.
Amanti?
Yes?
Dusha Dairatna here.
Yeah, doctor?
Yeah, actually, first of all, on behalf of our, all the staff members and students, I must thank you for sharing your experience with us. I really appreciate it, actually. Very nice presentation. I can say that the short and sweet, right? You didn't take much time, but, it's a very nice, the presentation. Yes, just to encourage, the students, because they are not asking questions.
Yes.
As you told, sometimes our head of the department, might have asked them, not to, the ask.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering, doctor.
Yeah. The few questions, again, just to encourage our students. Amanti, actually, tell us that how knowledge on labor laws will impact on the roles of HR professionals. In your case, how you got it there?
Yeah. So knowledge on labor law is a must, is a foundation that every HR professional needs to have. See, starting from an organization, so HR is responsible from a letter of appointment, a training contract, the disciplinary matters have to be dealt, the leave has to be dealt. So the knowledge in terms of labor law is a must, and each and every HR professional needs to be very sound. So EFC Blue Book is there. I think in terms of getting that exposure from the university degree, you get the labor law knowledge to you. In terms of getting this exposure, it need not necessarily be that you need to have that in practice. But going through the reading material, the EFC material, your degree material, you can get a very fine understanding in terms of the labor law that you need to know as a HR professional. So what happens is, unless otherwise you are really thorough in the labor law, you fail in your duty and you cannot be efficient, good HR professional, I would say. See, all the time when you deal with businesses, they have various issues, be it a performance issue, be it attendance issue, maybe a fraud, something. So they always, when they have issues, such issues, they turn back to HR. So then HR has to give them the proper direction, proper guidance, because otherwise you very well know what will happen. Employees will take it up, be it LT, at court, they will take it up and work against the organization. So labor law is a must, and it has to be the foundation. It has to have a solid foundation in terms of HR professional. So it's very important. How I gathered it is, Doctor, I told you I started my career at Nations Trust as a HR person, and we had only a limited number of HR people in that department. At that time, there were only 3 people. So I had a challenge. I had my educational background, the degree. Though I was not at a very senior level, I was given the challenge of drafting policies for the bank. The leave policy, the disciplinary policy, the attendance policy, and many of the forms that there were. So I got involved in that. In order to do that, I had to do a lot of reading. So I referred my degree, the notes, the lectures that I had. I referred the blue book of EFC, which outlined Shop and Office Act, the maternity, the leave part of it. So I had to do a lot of reading. Through that, I got the knowledge, and that enabled me to do the policies for the bank. So that's how I got exposure. So I think labor law is a must for HR professional, and you have to get yourself updated with whatever the labor laws, depending on the industry that you're in. And there are various laws that applies in terms of all these aspects, in terms of leave, all that. So it's very, very important that all of you have a sound knowledge in labor law. Did I answer you?
Right, yeah, yes. Thank you, Amanti. And my second questions regarding, the work-life balance, as as a lady, especially in Sri Lanka, I believe that you are having maybe double burden or triple burden sometimes,
Yes, yes.
Yeah. How you maintain actually a healthy work-life balance?
Yeah.
One, because you are the head HR, and then at your home, that you have a role, as a wife, I believe that, and as a mother. That's why I told you the triple burden you have.
Yes.
So how you manage it, Amanti?
Yeah.
Because, in our department also now we are getting more and more girls actually.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah. It will be helpful for them actually. How to
Yes. So, Doctor, so I'm married. I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, 18 and 19. When I think I started my career when I was just, I got married in September. In February, I got the job offer from NTB, Nations Trust. So when I went for the interview, the first interview itself, my boss, the interviewer told me, okay, you're just married, but I must tell you that NTB has just started business. So there'll be long working hours, all that. So, and maybe till very late, which came true. I had to work, I told you, till 12 o'clock in the night. So, so he told me, go and check with your husband, have a discussion, and then get back. So I went with my husband. I went back, I spoke to my husband, had a chat with him, and told him this is an opportunity. And thank God, he's very understanding. He said, okay, this is an opportunity that you got, and he agreed. So I commenced at NTB. I had late nights, not every day. In terms of first 2 years, it was pretty tough, working late, all that. But I ensured that I spent time with my husband and my family, at least, so that where I don't get involved in work, I have purely quality time that I spend with them. So maybe a night, maybe going out for dinner, all that. Then during the weekends, I ensured, some of the weekends I had to work. I had to make a little bit of sacrifice at the beginning. However, had attended to the family, then you have the extended family. you have the in-laws, then you have your parents, all that. Then when the children are born, then their work, all that. So first few years, the salary that I got, I actually didn't have any saving. I had to, pay for some helpers that helped me to look after my children and my family in terms of looking after. So there are sacrifices that you got to make in life. However, you need to ensure that you have those relationships, those bonds going, and you need to ensure that when things are pretty crucial, important, you have those discussions with the management, talk to them, attend to those things as well. And so to date, I have been able to manage. Of course, I must tell you that it's not a bed of roses. There have been arguments at home front saying you're working late every day, or you're working this weekend, or likewise. But you should be able to manage those and give something back in return to your family as well as the organization. So obviously, when you hold responsible positions, and I feel at any level, probably you have those challenges. You have challenges at home, parents getting old, parents needing your attention. So you need to design your life in a manner that you don't neglect either party, and you have to pre-plan it. Not that haphazardly you do it. So you decide, okay, this weekend I will spend some time, I will take them out for dinner, I will go out on a holiday, I will stay with my parents. I make sure that every day in the evening when I go home, I have maybe at least 5 to 10 minutes chat with my mother, talk to her, then spend some time with my daughter, my son, husband. So you need to plan yourself and ensure. Sometimes you yourself might have to do a little bit of sacrifice, but you need to ensure that you plan yourself in a manner that you spend time with your family as well and spend some quality time. So of course there'll be hardships coming in at different times, different, our children, they're at wrong age probably, they have issues. So try to manage all that and think positively all the time. I don't know, something in my life that I've experienced is, I always think everything has a positive side to it. So when things go wrong, I think, okay, I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, but this is how I think. So I also, in individuals, I try to see the best thing or a good thing in that individual rather than harping on the bad things. All of us are not perfect. We have bad things. We are not really 100% good individuals. We have faults, our mistakes we do have. So, but try to capitalize on the good things on individuals and then lead your life in a manner that, you're also satisfied by seeing the good things of others, and then ensuring that you have this relationship with your family, the bonding that you have, the in-laws, all that, plus your work. So that's how I've managed my life.
Thank you very much, Amanti. I think it's not good to ask, the many questions from you. I believe that the students also, they may have questions to, ask from you. Really appreciate, Amanti, actually.
Most welcome.
I really enjoyed your presentation.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Wish you all the best and have a nice evening.
Thank you, and same to you, Doctor.
Right, thank you, Amanti.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, ma'am. I have a question on HR analytics.
Yes.
Even I also asked from many many interns who are my friends, and they also said that you should follow some HR analytics practice, something like that. Likewise, so is it enough to practice analytics through Excel in the beginning, or else we have to follow some special softwares like Python or something like that?
Yeah. So Anuradha, at the beginning, I think if you understand, if you can be a master in Excel, at the beginning, it's good enough. And if you further study Python later on, it will definitely add value to you. But also keep in mind, HR professional, it's an advantage for you to study those and get those. But at the same time, as a HR professional, you need to understand how and what sort of information you would need in terms of decision making. And in terms of, say, for example, a dashboard, you need to know what sort of dashboards will become important to you and how it will help you, right? And how it will help the organization and how it will help in terms of decision making. So that is a key that you need to understand. But at the same time, you need to say when you go up the ladder, you can't be doing Excel, you can't be, but at the beginning, if you know Excel, you can say, okay, can you do a pivot table for me? Can you do sorting for me? Can you do a VLOOKUP? Can you do a HLOOKUP? So those things, functions, when you know that, it's easy for you to guide someone or get someone to learn it. So at the initial stages, it's good enough for you to have this Excel knowledge and understanding. But as you go along, if you can do Python, and there are so many other softwares, right, in terms of HR analytics. So if you learn those, that will be fine. But also I must tell you the HRIS systems that we have nowadays do have inbuilt BI tools, business intelligence tools. So technical knowledge, I would say, as long as you have to a basic level, that's good enough. Unless otherwise you want to become a HR analyst or you want to excel in that and have that path in terms of HR analytics.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
Welcome, Anuradha.
ඔබට තවත් ගැටලුවක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ පිළිබඳව විමසීමට මේ අවස්ථාවක් කරගන්නා ලෙස ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
ප්‍රශ්න මොනවා හරි තියෙනවා නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ඉගෙනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් දැන් ගොඩක් අය මම දන්නේ හරියටම මේ ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප්ස් එහෙම කරනවාද කියලා. හැබැයි ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප්ස් කරේනවා හරි කරේ නැතුව හරි HR ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් ඇස්පෙක්ට් එකේ මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ ස්ටඩීස් වලට මොනවා හරි තියෙනවා නම් ඕන ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් අහන්න පුළුවන්.
තාවේ නිසා මං හිතන්නේ ප්‍රශ්න නැතුව ඇති කියලා තවත්. ඉතින් බොහොමත් ස්තුතියි මැඩම්. මං හිතනවා මේ හෝරා කිහිපය තුළ ඔබට මහඟු පිටුහලක් වෙන්නට ඇති කියා කොහොමද සාර්ථක ලෙස වෘත්තීය මාර්ගයකට පියවර තබන්නේ කියලා. ඉතින් අපිට ගොඩාක් තොරතුරු දැනගන්න පුළුවන් වුණා competencies of HR professionals, future HR, එතකොට changing role of HR ඒ වගේ ගොඩක් new trends වගේ ගොඩක් දේවල් අපිට දැනගන්න පුළුවන් වුණා. ඉතින් ඊටමත් හරවත් කතා බහක්. ඉතින් මේ අවස්ථාවේ මම මේ වැඩසටහනට එක්වූ සෙලාන් බැංකු සමූහයේ ප්‍රධාන HR මැනේජර් අමන්ති මොහතා මහත්මිය ඔබතුමියට බෙහෙවින් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඔබගේ වටිනා කාලය කැප කරලා අපි වෙනුවෙන් මේ අත්දැකීම් බෙදා හදා ගන්න එකතු වුණාට. ඒ වගේම තමයි මේ වැඩසටහන සංවිධානය කරපු ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් හෙඩ්ට වගේම මේ අවස්ථාවේ සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්න අධ්‍යනාංශ ප්‍රධාන ආචාර්යනී දිනෝකා පේරා ගුරුමෑණියන්ටත් මහාචාර්ය භද්‍රා ආරච්චිගේ ගුරුමෑණියන්ටත් ආචාර්ය දුෂාර් දයරත්න ගුරුපියාණන්ටත් පූජා ඕපාද ගුරුමෑණියන්ටත් ඉශානි උරේෂා ගුරුමෑණියන්ටත් බෙහෙවින් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ අවස්ථාවේ අපත් සමග රැඳී සිටි ප්‍රථම දෙවන තෙවන සිව්වන වසර සහෝදර සහෝදරයන්ටත් ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙමින් නැවත මෙවැනි වැඩසටහනකින් හමුවෙමු. ස්තුතියි.
Thank you very much, all of you. And I wish all of you a very prosperous future in the field of HR. Badra Madam, Doctor, and all the lecturers who have joined us. Dinoka, a special thank you to all of you for having me today for this session. Thank you, Dino, for the invitation that you've extended. and I greatly enjoyed. And also I want to say, if there's anything that you want to check with me even after that, Dinoka has my contact number and my email address. Please feel free to talk to me. I will definitely support all of you. All the very best, and thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Amanti. Take care.
Thank you too. Thank you.